this episode, we're going to use some spectacular lighting, spectacular post-production to create some spectacular pictures of a spectacular model. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Exploring Photography right here on Adorama TV. I'm Mark Wallace in Tactic Studios in Madrid, Spain. And today I'm going to take this studio and transform it from a very bland, seamless white paper to beyond reality beauty shoot with a fantastic model. Her name is Fanny Beladona. Here she is right here. And you probably recognize her from some previous shoots we've done on Adorama TV. So today what we're going to be doing is we're not going to be spending a lot of time in the lighting portion and the shooting portion of this video because it's very, very simple. You see that in just a second. We're going to shoot some very basic beauty shots. But then I want to take those into post-production and take them from beautiful to beyond reality. So we're going to make her skin, we're going to make your skin sort of flawless beyond what is normal in real life. And we might add some textures and some glow and some other things. And so without further ado, let's get our lighting set up and then we'll start shooting. So let's set up our lights right now. Well, now that we have everything set up, let me give you a better understanding of how all the lights are configured. This is an incredibly simple lighting setup. It's just butterfly light, so we have a 3-foot Octa box on the top with a small softbox below, giving you a really, really soft light. And I've added 2 kicker lights. These are some Godox strip lights, just to give her some highlights on the hair. Everything is shot on axis right between these 2 small softboxes on the front. And we're going to make sure that we crop really tight on Fanny and it will look fantastic. Well, now that we understand the lighting setup, it's pretty simple. Let's talk about the strategy of shooting. I'm shooting at f8. The reason for that is I want enough depth of field to get all of Fanny's face, all of her hair, everything in focus. And with my 50mm lens, that is perfect. Now, ideally, I'd use a little bit longer lens, maybe a 70-200. So I might need to dial that into f11 or so, depending on what you're using and how far away you are from your subject. But I don't have a 70-200. All I have is my 50, so that's what I'm using. So without further ado, we're going to shoot some, and then we'll get to the post-production. I love these shots, but to make them exceptional, we need to do our post-production because we want exceptionally flawless, artificially flawless skin. We want to make sure that we add some highlights and textures and all kinds of things. We want to take these from reality to beyond reality. That's the kind of beauty shots that I'm looking to create. And so to do that, we need to add some post-production. We're going to get to that right now.
For this retouching session, I'm going to be using a Photoshop technique called frequency separation. To keep things short, I'm going to stick to the basics. The steps are simple. In Photoshop, we'll create 2 copies of our background layer. The lower copy will be blurred to create a low frequency layer. And we'll use Apply Image to the top layer to create a high frequency layer. On the low frequency layer, we'll adjust our luminosity, tones, and colors, and on the high frequency layer, we'll adjust our textures. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's not. Let's walk through it together.
We're going to start in a familiar place. We're in Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, and I've already looked at the images from the photo shoot, and these are the ones I've selected to edit. We're just going to start with this last image here and zip over to the Develop module. Now at this point, all you need to do is set your tonality and color, so your white balance and your basic highlight, shadows, whites, blacks, etc. Now you can do that here in Lightroom or in Adobe Camera Raw. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is once you're finished, you need to zip over into Photoshop. So I will do that by right-clicking, saying Edit in Adobe Photoshop CC 2019. Now once we're in Photoshop, we need to make 2 copies of this background layer. We can do that using the Command or Control J shortcut key. So I'll do that once, twice to create 2 layers, 2 copies of this background layer. Now to keep things easy to understand, I'm going to rename these layers really quickly. And I've renamed them to low frequency and high frequency. And I'm going to put those in a group just so that I can turn them on and off for before and after comparisons later. So FSL, frequency separation layers, I'll hit OK. You don't have to put these into a group. I just do that so I can turn them on and off very quickly to show you the differences later on. Okay, The next thing we need to do is we need to set up these low and high frequency layers. Now the thing is, you don't have to understand why we're doing what we're doing. You just have to understand the steps because they are the same every time you do this. So the first thing we need to do is turn off the visibility of the high frequency layer. You do that just by clicking the little eyeball, then select the low frequency layer, and we need to blur that. We're going to blur that using the Gaussian Blur. Now to do this, before I do that, I need to zoom in to 100%. That's important. You want to make sure that you can see this at 100% so we can see all the little fine lines and details in our subject's face. So once I've done that, now I'll go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now what I want to do is I want to set this radius not too high and not too low, but just high enough that the details, all the small details, the eyelashes, the lines on her lips, the lines around her eyes, etc., those start to go out of focus, so those are blurry. So we're just going to go up to around 5 pixels. You can see that those are now soft, down about 1.5 or 2 pixels. There's just not quite enough. So somewhere around 4 or 5 pixels is going to be the sweet spot. So I'll do 4.6. Don't go way up here to a really, really high blur, because that just isn't going to work. So one of the big mistakes is people blur too much on this low frequency layer. Keep that down just enough where the small details are being blurred out. Then hit OK. That's all you have to do for the low frequency layer. For the high frequency layer now, we'll select this layer and then turn back on the visibility, and then we're going to do something called Apply Image. Again, you don't have to understand why, you just have to understand what. So to do this, go to Image, and then we're going to go to Apply Image. Now this is going to ask us for a few things, and the good thing is this is the same every single time. So it's going to ask for the layer that you're applying. So what we want to do is make sure we choose the low frequency layer. So that is this low frequency layer here, the first layer that we just blurred. So if you name that something else, whatever you've named it is going to show up in this drop down. So low frequency is what I've selected. The blending mode, we want to make sure that we choose subtract. Subtract is the blending mode. And then the opacity should be 100%. And these other two values here are always going to be the same. The scale should be 2. And the offset should be 128. Make sure the scale is 2, offset 128, and then click OK. Now this looks like a high pass filter, so we have to fix that. So we go over here to our layers panel, we choose our blending mode, and then make sure you choose linear light. Now this is sort of crazy here. If I just have my low frequency layer, I have a blurry image. If I just have my high frequency layer, I have this high pass filtery look. If I put those together using linear light, we have a complete image. So I have my textures on this layer, and I can choose to fix those totally independent of my colors and tones here on this low frequency layer. So let's dive in and start working with this. We're going to start by working on the low frequency layer. What we want to do here is notice on Fanny's face that she has some areas on her face that are similar tones. So some reds on her cheeks. We have some nice light forehead here, but notice that it's sort of blotchy. We've got different darks and lightnesses here, some reds and some oranges. We want to start blending those together so it becomes smooth, and we're going to overdo it in this demo just to make sure it shows up on YouTube. So to do this, what I first need to do is get my lasso tool. So I'm going to click over here. You can use the shortcut key L to make this much faster. I need to make sure I have a nice feather. So I'm going to use about 15 pixels. So I will just select this area here that I want to blend. Now if I want to see what that feather looks like, I can hit the quick mask shortcut key, which is Q. And then I can see if this is a nice feather. If it's not, I can hit Q again to get rid of that, deselect. I can change my feather, make it maybe 20, select again, and then hit Q to see if that's a nice feather. It looks pretty good to me. Okay, so we've got our selection. It's a nice feather. And now what we need to do is we need to blur this just on the low frequency layer. So to do that, I'm going to go to Filter, and then I'm going to select Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now notice I've set up a shortcut key. I've got some keystrokes here to do this really quickly, and I've got a Wacom tablet that emulates those keystrokes. So you'll see me start to do this really quickly, but that's how I did it. I set up a custom keyboard shortcut and then assigned that to a key on my tablet. So I'm going to select Gaussian Blur, and then for this, what I want to do is I want to move this to a radius where all of these different tones start blending together. Now make sure preview is checked so you can see that. And notice that all this blotchiness is starting to go away for about 40, 45. That's probably way too much than you'd normally do, but I really want to make sure that you can see this on YouTube. So I'm going to go with about 59 here and say OK. Now what I'll do is I'll start selecting different areas. So I'm going to select this area. They have similar tones, and then I'm using my shortcut key to go ahead and blend that. I go down here. These are similar tones. I will select that, use my shortcut key, blend that. I'm just going to do this really quickly here on some of the larger portions of Fanny's face. And watch what happens if I turn off the group. Whoops, if I turn off the group with the background layer on. So this is before, this is after. You can already see this to really start taking effect. Now I'm overdoing it for the sake of YouTube, but you can see how this works. It's very simple. Low frequency, you select areas that are similar, you blur them, move to the next area, blur them. So we're fixing the tonality of our low frequency layer. The high frequency layer is what we use to fix things like these little lines around our subject's eyes. So to do that, what I'm going to do, first I'm going to blend these really fast using the same technique. So I'm going to blend all these areas right here. So that's blended using the same method. Now I'm going to go to the high frequency layer. I'm going to choose a different tool. The tool I'm choosing is the clone stamp tool. I know you're thinking, well, why not use the healing brush tool? Well, the clone stamp tool is what we want to do because we want to take areas of texture from one area that's similar and apply them to another area. So we're just doing a transplant. So we're cloning that stuff. The thing that's important to understand is we need to make sure that the sample is on the current layer. So not current and below or all layers. Make sure it's set to current layer. That's very important. Then what we can do is we can use our option key to select where we want to pull from. So I'm going to pull from about right here. I'm going to place that in here. And we're just going to keep doing that very quickly. And notice that all of that detail just goes away. So I'm quickly and easily able to change the textures without changing the tones and the colors underneath. It is a really fabulous technique. So we could spend some time on this. Normally this would take you 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour or two to do this correctly. So I'm going to work on this image and then I will show you the before and after results. So I've worked on this image for a few minutes now, and now we can show you the differences between the before and after. So this is the before image. It looked pretty good until we did all the retouching. This is the after. This frequency separation technique allows you to create some stunning differences between your before and after image with a very simple technique. I love these images. We went beyond reality to create something that's really beautiful. Thank you so much, Fanny, for being in yet another wonderful video. Make sure you check out Fanny on Instagram. It's Fanny Beladona. Here is her link right here. Also check me out on Instagram as well. J. Mark Wallace, here's my Instagram. Check it out. Make sure you subscribe to Adorama TV. It's free and you get new videos almost every single day. And click on the bell so you get notifications. Thanks again. We'll see you again next time.